Okay, this tutorial is to open a drawing, add a drawing border to an existing drawing, and plot to a particular scale. So we're going to use an A1 drawing for this exercise. So I'll just open up Autocad. Okay, and we'll go File, Open, and I've got a drawing in mind, so you can use any drawing you like, obviously, to work on. Sometimes it will come up with error messages in boxes, usually just ignore, so it might come up with a SHX file or a X reference file or something like that. Generally just ignore it because you need to open the drawing and external references aren't always included. So this drawing has quite a few different layout tabs on the bottom. You've got the normal overall layout, you've got street scenes and other areas. But what we're going to do is we're going to add a new one with our own drawing border attached to it. So you can hit plus icon, which also when you hover over says new layout. Go into that layout and we'll get rid of the viewport. That's what this is here that you can see you've got things inside of. And we want to insert a block. The easiest way of doing that is to actually type in DD insert, because otherwise it'll ask you to insert a block from within the drawing, which we don't have. So DD insert, go to browse, and we'll go with the TruEye A1 final drawing. Actually the existing plan that we're using is an A2, so we'll use the A2 drawing because that will match in with the same scales that they've got. So it's always good to check the drawing size and what sort of scale you want to plot it out at. What you get is a dialog box which asks you whether you want to insert the drawing, whether you want to specify it on the screen or to actually tell it where exactly you want to insert it at, and also the scale of the drawing. But we're not going to change the scale because it's an A2 drawing border, so we don't want to change that. So if we just hit OK, and we've got another SHX files are text files, so it's really irrelevant whether or not that's in there or not, because you'll see how the drawing looks. So it's asking to specify insertion point, so normally just type in 0,0, and you can see when you move around that it's going to put it in the bottom left hand corner. Scale factor, we just hit return, and at this point, because the drawing border's got attributes to it, you can start filling in the drawing border itself. So we can say that the client name might be Bidaro, or it might be the actual client itself. It could be a ground floor, could be a ground floor layout, and all these sorts of things. We know we want a scale of probably 1 to 200, and we can say who's drawn it. If we don't know all of the information at this point, we can just hit OK and it will put the drawing in. Obviously the scale was slightly wrong, so I just did a zoom extent, which is Z return, E return, and that brings up the actual drawing itself. Now what we also want to do now is create a viewport within this drawing border. So we want to make sure that our layer is 0 at this stage, or if you've already created a layer, you can create a viewport layer. We don't have one of those at the moment. We've got a viewport layer there, so I'll put it onto viewport, and that's just literally under the drop down up here. So you've got the layer drop down, and you can change that. So at the moment our current layer is viewport. I'll create a view, viewport, one viewport. Now what it's probably going to do is, yes, you can see here that if you zoom in on this and you go to the top corner, it's trying to use snaps or grips to go onto the corner of that. Now the easiest way of turning that off is via F3, and that actually turns your snap off, because we don't necessarily want to snap it right to the corner. So we'll start in the top left corner and drag it down to the bottom right corner, and you know that's in the viewport layer. You can just click on it to get information about it, and it will tell you that's on the viewport layer. Zoom extents again, Z, return, E, return, and you'll see that we've got the actual, all of the drawing that you can see within the actual border. If you double click within that viewport, you can start to manipulate the drawing around, and you can literally get the drawing that you want within the frame. It's kind of like a tracing paper layout, if you like, so that you've got the actual border itself over the top of the drawing. And you'll find that along the bottom you've got the tabs, and you've also got whether it's a model or paper space drawing, and you've also within that here you've got scale of the selected viewport. So it's a funny old scale at the moment, and you really want it to be a set scale, and you really want it to be something like 1 to 100 or something like that. But because this drawing's drawn in meters, and the actual border itself is in millimeters, it comes up at a slightly different scale. So you want something like 2 to 1 or 4 to 1, or something like that. So our drawing itself is put within the drawing border at a scale of 2 to 1, which should equate to that looks like it's showing as 1 to 500, but you can measure that just to be absolutely sure. Yeah, and that's showing as 25 meters, so we've got a scale of 1 to 500 at A2. So we can basically edit our drawing border, and the easiest way of doing that is typing in GDA-TTE, select the block itself, and you get the same dialog box as you had before. We can change that to 1 to 500. We can do checked by, normally that would be Dean, I guess, and if you've got a job number, what the date is, so 25th 07 2018, and other items as well, which you could fill in as you go, so drawing number, whatever that drawing would be, whether it's got a revision to it or not, information like that. So you can see that scale's changed to 1 to 500. So now that we've set the scale, we need to plot that out at the scale on an A2 sheet. So there's a few ways of getting to plot. One of them is just to type in plot, or you can go to file and plot. There's a few different ways, and we want to plot to DWG to PDF is probably the easiest one. We know we've got an A2. It takes a bit of finding sometimes. ISO A2. You can see that the actual size of an A2 sheet is 594 by 420. So if it shows it as 420 by 594, then that will actually be a portrait, and you don't really want that. You want landscape. and we want scale of 1 to 1. Okay, so our drawing border is slightly too big. I'll just edit that and then we'll try again. Okay, so we've got our drawing border set to scale. We can also change the pen settings within the plot itself. You can either plot monochrome or grayscale if you just want black and white, or you can change the pen settings. You can either create a new plot style table or you can edit an existing one. I've always used Autocad CTB purely just because I've used it for years. Within that you can edit each colour and line type. So if you want red to come out red, you can leave it at that. If you want red to come out black, you can change it to that. You can change the line weight thickness. Normally for something, say if you wanted the external walls to come out thicker than others, you could put those on a specific layer and change that line type to show that as thicker. What I tend to do is on an A0 or A1 drawing, you probably want to go up to a maximum of about 0.25 millimeters for line thickness, and that would be the thickest line, which might be the external wall or something like that, and then you work down to about 0.1 millimeter for the thinnest line. So yeah, we're going to have our black colour at 2.5, our red to be 0.15, and I can save that and close it, and then I can preview how it's going to look. You can also look at other colours within the drawing and see whether you want to change those, and normally you'd go into the actual layer properties dialog box and see what the actual colour is set to, and then you can change the plot style table, because you've got all the way up to 255 different colours if you use the normal swatches. And you can change each one of those to a specific colour, or leave it as it was already set up, so use object colour. So yeah, we can preview that. If we're happy with how that looks, then we can go and plot it. We know that we've got DW to PDF, we're set to ISO A2, set to extents, we're centering the plot just in case. It's always useful to set extents rather than layout, because extents allows you to center the plot. If you have it on layout, it grays out the center plot and it grays out flipped paper as well, so you get less options. So I usually use extents, and then hit OK and save it to TruEye and training, and we'll set one up with the right name, so I'll just send over the top of that, but you can obviously create your own name. Save that. Yes, I'll overwrite. It depends whether or not you've got, you should have Adobe Acrobat set up so it automatically will open up that drawing as a PDF within Acrobat itself, and you can then have a quick look at it and make sure you're happy with it, and make any changes if you want to. Go back into Autocad itself, go back to plot. So yeah, maybe you go previous plot, because that will bring up the last command that you had. And if you want to say, okay, I've got a colour here that I don't actually want to be black, I want it to be green, so that would be the trees there, if I've got the right colour, because it might not be that layer of trees here in green. Let's see. Okay, so that's now showing as green, so we know that we can make that change and then put it out again. And try and make sure that your scale, when you're plotting in paper space, is 1:1, because you know that the actual drawing border itself is in millimeters, and it's like as I said before, it's like a sheet of tracing paper. So as long as your scale of the drawing within the paper space viewport, which is in here, is set correctly, when you plot 1:1, you know that it's actually coming out at an A2 piece of paper. There we go, we've got our green trees. And we can change any of these lines to do the same, so we can either have the black or the actual original colour.